Founder Culture, the podcast for founders and startup leaders who understand that building a business may be hard, but building a team, now that's where things get tricky. I'm Romaine Wright, founder of Just Right Consulting LLC and creator of Thrive or Derive. In every episode, I take one real team issue, break down the behaviors driving it, and provide strategies on how to fix it. Welcome to the show. So today's episode is called, If I Step Away, Everything Could Fall Apart. Now, normally before I tell the story, to set the tone for the episode, I say, imagine this. But this time I'm saying, remember this, because I'm confident that everyone that listens to and watches this episode will be able to relate to this story. You'll all have at least one example of this situation. So I'm saying, remember this. You finally take vacation. Your laptop is closed. Your out of office message is on. You're somewhere beautiful in a place with people that you love where you're supposed to enjoy yourself. But every few minutes, you're checking that phone and there's messages and emails and missed calls. And a question comes in, so you answer it. A small issue pops up, you jump in. Your team says they can handle it, but you keep an eye on it just in case. You return from your vacation more tired than you were when you left, feeling like you need a vacation from the vacation because physically you left, but mentally you were still there. You never got a chance to relax because deep down you were afraid that if you stepped away, something was going to fall apart. Now, again, I am confident that everybody that watches or listens to this episode will at least be able to relate to this a little bit, and it's very, very common. Now, here's the challenge or the issue with that. Failure to disconnect eventually leads to burnout. Now, burnout's a word we hear a lot, so I'm going to tell you what I have found it to mean. And for me, it means when you've been running so hard for so long that your energy, focus, and connection to your work actually all start to wear down at the same time. And that's why you crash. Now, there are many things that can lead to burnout, but with founders and entrepreneurs, what I've found is this. They don't just work hard, but they actually believe that it's their responsibility to carry more weight than everybody else because it's their business, right? They feel like carrying the most weight is honorable. It feels responsible to them and even necessary. But as you know, I bring up these things so that we can talk about the real behavior behind it and we can work on addressing it. And the behavior that comes out of carrying that weight and believing you have to because it's your business is called responsibility hoarding. So responsibility hoarding is holding on to ownership, decisions, and being involved beyond what is necessary because carrying everything feels safer, makes you feel more comfortable than letting go. Now, I want you to pause, take a moment to think about that term, responsibility hoarding. Responsibility hoarding. When I first read that, I had this immediate visceral reaction to it because I got the image of someone frantically grabbing hold of everything around them as if their life depended on it. It was not a pretty sight, but it's really, really common, which is why I want us to talk about it. Now, if you aren't sure if this is something that you're dealing with, here are a couple of signs. If you stay looped into decisions that your team should own, that could be responsibility hoarding. If you struggle to fully detach during your time off, if you even have time off, that could be responsibility hoarding. If you step in before others actually have a chance to solve the problems that you've hired them to solve, responsibility hoarding. And if you feel anxious when things move forward and get done without you being involved, responsibility hoarding. And here's the biggest thing about responsibility hoarding. When it's not checked, it doesn't just exhaust you, it actually exhausts your team as well. And over time, they stop stepping up and start stepping back and waiting on you to get things done. And then If it continues even further, of course, then it leads to burnout. Burnout is really inevitable. Now, I want to take a moment here to call out that this may sound familiar to you. And that's because in previous episodes, I've talked about similar behaviors. In season 1, I talked about reactive micromanagement, urgency addiction, and the hero habit. And from the outside, all of these things kind of look the same. They're all focused on a leader doing things that someone else should be doing and really being in the way and keeping others from doing their work. What distinguishes them is the reason why the leader is engaging in this behavior, right? So the why behind it is really what makes them different. So let's quickly break that down so you can identify what's really going on if this resonates with you. So, for reactive micromanagement, this is a leader responding to pressure that they're feeling during high stakes moments. It's not their normal way of leading, but when the stakes are high, they're jumping in and being a lot more involved. For urgency addiction, that's meeting the need to feel productive and being busy in order to get that need filled. So I'm doing all the things just because I want to feel productive because I don't know what to do when I'm not busy. Right? The hero habit comes from the belief that if I ask for help, it makes me look weak. And now we're talking about responsibility hoarding, which is believing that as the owner of the business, the founder, the entrepreneur, you've got to carry the most weight because it's your business. Now, all of these things attach feelings of self-worth to working more, but the need being filled is different. So I encourage you to go back, watch those previous episodes, especially if this has resonated with you. If you are a leader, this will help you to figure out which one you're dealing with. And if you are not a leader, but you report to someone who's engaging in these behaviors, it'll give you some deeper insight into what they're experiencing and why they're engaging in this behavior. So today, again, we're talking about responsibility hoarding. Let's talk about the reset for that. The first thing I want to highlight about this reset is remember I said responsibility hoarding leads to burnout. Avoiding burnout doesn't mean I'm just going to get more rest, right? That doesn't work. And so responsibility hoarding or avoiding that, or I should say addressing that, isn't just about letting things go, right? It's bigger than that. In order to reset from responsibility hoarding, you have to actually know and believe that your business can function without you, without you constantly being there, without you constantly intervening. So here are a few things that you could do to help you get more comfortable with stepping away. The first is audit what you still do that others could do instead. There's 2 things that I recommend. You could take a week and keep track of and log every single thing that you do. And then look back at that list and decide which of those things that you really don't need to do and you can delegate. If you don't want to do all of that, you could audit your calendar, right? So sit down, look through your calendar week by week. What are the meetings, appointments, calls that you have scheduled? And decide, do you need to be in all of those? Because chances are you don't. Number 2, notice where your involvement is habit and not necessities. Many founders stay really involved with things because they're comfortable, it feels safe to them, but it's not always strategic. Meetings are always a great example. Let's say you've been having Monday morning meetings with your team forever, right, since the beginning, and now you've got a bigger team and you don't really need to be there, but you keep going because it's a habit, right? So take a look at your habits and see if they are strategic. Number 3, let your team struggle productively. I've talked about this before in some of the previous episodes, but you've got to let your team have space to learn, grow, make decisions, make mistakes, and then recover from those mistakes. So as long as they're struggling productively, you can give them the space to do that so that you can continue to step into your leader role and be a functional leader, which leads to number 4, redefining your leadership presence. Your job as the leader is to build a repeatable system that can be productive and get results with you or without you. Now, this can be hard for some leaders, entrepreneurs, and founders because when I'm designing a system that can function without me, where do I fit in when I step away, right? There's some ego attached to that, but there's also a need to redefine who you are as a leader if you're not in the mix doing the work with everyone else. So I've said a lot. It may have stepped on your toes a little bit, but that's okay. That's the purpose of the show. I'm going to give you this quick takeaway because I want you to really consider if this is something you're dealing with or some facet of this type of behavior, really do an inventory of how you want to show up. So the takeaway from this episode is that founders, entrepreneurs, leaders often wear exhaustion as evidence of their commitment, as if doing more shows that you care more. But the truth is, carrying everything isn't leadership. It's actually fear in disguise. Fear of risk, fear of the unknown, fear of who and what you become when you actually let go and let the people that you have on your team do what you hired them to do. It's a good chance that you started your business to create freedom for yourself. I'm challenging you to not make your business something you can't step away from because you wanted freedom, right? If this resonated with you and you're ready to take action right now, hop in the show notes and download a playbook that provides deeper insight into these behaviors that I talk about, tips and strategies on how to address them. And if you're ready to get some help, my information is in the show notes as well. Follow me, email me, connect with me. Let me know you're ready to take your leadership to the next level. And until next time, build trust and results will follow.